Okay, so we're going to work on number one together. Declan, is there somebody you want to call on, or should we roll for people? Roll? Do you want to roll? Okay. I also abandoned my shorts plan. I'll be honest, I was really cold by bedtime last night. I thought it was supposed to be even colder the rest of this week. So the shorts plan is put on hold for a week. Okay, Declan, who do we have? I can't see far enough. Is the tray thing up in the back? Yeah, then forward. $17 is now Colin. Colin. So this has to be equal to 0. All these problems have to be equal to 0. How do I do that? Right now it says it's equal to negative 15. Nice. Okay, and I really wanted to start with question number 1 because our worksheet from Friday had a question just like this. And there were a lot of people thrown off about how you add 15 when there's no normal number there. So here's what we're going to do. The A and the regular number can't be added together. And so what you just write it next to it. So I'm going to write the original 2 over again and then just write plus 15 next to it. We're basically adding it to nothing so that it'll just be written on its own. Okay. And actually, in fairness, since you're rolling now, maybe we should pick a different expert for the equal 0 question. 16. Did we just have 17? Maya.
What?
You just got rolled. I see. Apparently, you're paying really close attention. How do we factor that? Wait, what? We're factoring. Are you trying to give her some assistance? Do you remember how to factor it?
But I'm not going to help her no more because you just called me out like that.
I was trying to help somebody calling them out.
I don't know because I just don't like speaking in front of like the whole class. I actually do that a lot. Not gonna lie, that was actually a lie.
I was not going to say anything at all.
But I just knew you were thinking like.
I definitely was thinking it.
Yeah, I just knew it.
Yeah.
Damn, she lying.
Declan, apparently we need another volunteer. 30, 27, 28, 29, 30. Elena. So these are the 3-term easy. I don't know if that helps you identify it or not. There's no number on the a squared. How do we factor that? Perfect. We are specifically looking for the numbers that multiply to 15 but add to negative 8. I'll write them all down. You don't have to. I mean, some people just go right to the pair they know. The part that's easy to forget is there's always going to be 2 versions of every pair. Some positive, some negatives. So we've got 1 and 15, we've got 3 and 5. And then negative 3 and negative 5 should pop out to you that works. So I'm going to write in the negative 3, the negative 5. I can only do this on the easiest problems. The style that's a little bit harder, you can't. Next person. 20, 18, 19, 20. That's Sophia. How do I solve it once I get it to the factors equal to 0? I'll move that up if it helps, but. So once you have factors equal to 0, you're going to make each one its own little tiny equation equal to 0, and then solve each one of those. So like on this one, I would add 3 to both sides. I just don't have room to write it. This one I would add 5 to both sides. And I'd get 3 and 5. Now, I'll very specifically tell you, you don't have to do the riddle joke part of this thing. If you want to, your goal here is to look for the answers on the right-hand side. And this is a way to check if you're doing it right, by the way, is your answers are all going to be listed on the right. But 3 and 5 is next to the word the or the. And that's going to be question number 1. And so then I would write the word the or the in box 1. You don't have to do that part, just reinforcing that. But I know some people like to, so I'll just put it up there how to do it. Okay, I want to go to number 4 next. And before we kind of talk about it a lot, number 4 was on yesterday's, not exactly number 4, but it was definitely on yesterday's worksheet, a question like this. Some people accidentally did the evens and some people worked ahead, and I think it was number 6, so you didn't technically have to do it because we only did the odds, but some people did it anyway. And the reason I'm bringing it up is it's actually kind of difficult to remember. So first type of factoring that we learned was greatest common factor. Second type was 3-term easy. Third type, 3-term hard. I mean, like, it doesn't matter what you call them, but they're the same types of equations. Fourth was factor by grouping. Fifth, difference of squares. Again, you don't necessarily need to know the names. What I'm trying to show here is, from your viewpoint, I get that it's hard to remember the factoring because there's a lot of types. And I would say 90% of all the factoring you do is with 3 terms. And so it's either going to be an easy one that has no number on the squared term or a hard one that has a number. You end up doing factor by grouping with the 3-term hard, but factor by grouping is when there's 4 terms. So those are usually obvious. Difference of squares is when there's only 2 numbers being subtracted. And so that's usually kind of obvious. The one that's supposed to be the easiest, but is the hardest to remember to do because we don't get it very often, is choice number 1, greatest common factor. It basically just means you take out common terms. We do it all the time with 3-term hard and factor by grouping, but it's technically its own method. Oh, that's true. I forgot. We need a new expert. Gavin, you're our new expert. You're basically taking over for Declan. What's wrong with question number 4? We have to set it up differently to even try the problem. Good. Okay, that's what you're going to be the expert on today. So we have to make it equal to 0. That means I'm going to subtract 13w from both sides. And again, these two things they can't be put together. They're not like terms, so we don't. We just write them separate. And then we should see right away that there's only 2 things. It's not a difference of squares because the second thing isn't squared. What should be easy to see but usually isn't because we use it seldomly, they have something in common. They both have a w. So we're just going to take the w out and then it's factored like it's done. There was one like this on yesterday's homework that a lot of people got thrown off on when they tried number 6. And that's if they tried number 6. But since I saw it on today's, I thought it would be good for us to go over it together. Okay, sure, Declan? 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's Bram. Bram, do you remember how to solve it once we get to the end, like factors equal to 0? Like say this w minus 13, what do we do with that to get the answer? Yes. So basically, you make it its own little equation, and then you would add 13 to both sides like you were trying to say, and then you'd get 13. The w, yeah, it feels like it's harder because like you don't know what to do with it, but you're still going to make it equal to 0, and then you're actually done because it's solved. Yeah. It ends up being pretty, this one is theoretically an easy question, but it's going to be hard for a lot of people because the parts are just not common. Let's see, what was the next one I wanted to do? I feel like it was on the left-hand side. It was definitely number 5. And I'm not going to finish number 5 with you, I'm just going to start it. Okay, Gavin, your question, you already should know it. What's the issue with number 5?
It's not equal to 0.
It is not. Now, here's the hard part. Most people are going to want to bring 11x to the other side because that's quicker. But you don't want to do that. If your squared term is negative, it makes it crazy hard to factor. You want your squared thing to be positive. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add x squared to both sides. And I'm going to add 24 to both sides. It seems like it's more work, but it makes your problem a lot easier to do. You want to move the parts around so that the squared term is positive. So you pick the side that makes it positive. Okay, and then lastly, you want to write these in the right order. Technically, this says 11x plus x squared plus 24. You want to write them in the correct order so our methods work. Write the squared first, then the x, then the number. And then you'll be able to finish it. Okay, I want to do one more with you, and then that'll leave you a half hour to work on it. Most of you should probably get close to finishing it today. I am definitely going to give you a little bit of time to finish it tomorrow. Like, don't feel like you have to bring it home. I did not want to do a 3-term harm with you because we've done a lot of them. You multiply the outside numbers. If somebody wants help on that, I'll just help them individually. Like, just call me over for help or come on up. I wanted to do number 10. And then we'll be done. Well, done together.
It's not equal to 0.
Nice. Okay, you've got that down. Which one should I subtract?
25.
Okay. Any reason why? Or is this just a hunch?
I'm just going at random.
Okay, well, you picked the right one at random. You want to subtract the 25 because then the 16h squared stays positive. Too many people were doing this method where you put 0 in the middle yesterday. I want to teach you the quick way to make sure you know it. Because these are so much less work if you just know what to do. This one has 2 terms. And so it's actually this last one that I wrote down that was called difference of squares. Difference of squares means both things have to be squared. And 25 technically is, because it's 5 squared. A difference of squares, if you recognize it, you can write the answer immediately. That's why the short way is definitely a lot better. 25 is 5 squared, correct? So I am immediately going to write 5 and 5. 16 is what squared? 4. So I'm going to write 4 and 4. H squared, well, that's h squared. So it's 4h, 4h, 5, 5. 1 plus, 1 minus. And it will always work out that same way. Do you want me to go through to finish to find the answers with you? I should say, does somebody want me to finish these with you to help? Okay. So these are only different because they have two terms. I don't have enough room to write it. So you make it equal to 0, and there'll be 2 steps. That's the main difference. And then I believe all the answers on the right are written as fractions. Now these both are kind of identical. It's just 1 plus 1 minus. So the answers are going to be kind of identical. 1 plus 1 minus. If you have the same answer, one of them's positive, one of them's negative, on the answer key, they'll write it as plus and minus 5/4. They won't write them separately. They'll just write a plus and minus, and that just means that it's both of them. Okay. You guys did pretty good. That was a lot of info again. One thing I was going to mention, I've noticed quite a few people throwing away their worksheets right after they finish them, like turn them in. Part of the reason you might want to save them is like when we get to the end of the unit for the test and we're going to make up some sort of cheat sheet with notes to yourself. Like a lot of times these worksheets are where you might write your notes. Like if anybody copied this part down where I wrote the different types of factoring. That's something you'd probably want to put on your cheat sheet that's not in our packet. So you might want to hold off throwing your stuff away until after the test, if nothing. Okay, I'm done with the different stuff. I'm going to try to put all these questions up here so you can see them. I know it's tiny, but at least you could see them. And I will help you with whatever you would like help with till the end of the hour. I will have my grade book open if you want to turn anything in too. Okay, let's get to work.